Sound only from the right speaker. I'm using SPDIF and I only get sound from the right speaker plus the subwoofer. I've checked the balance settings. Adjusting number 1 does nothing. Adjusting number 2 affects the right speaker. I've also tried. Switch places for the speakers to make sure that both works. Switch the cables. Same thing. Only audio from the right speaker. So I'm quite certain that it's not a speaker problem but how Windows sends the audio, or sound card problem. Update. Here's the strange thing. My volume knob which comes with the speakers have a headphone, 3.5mm, jack. If I connect my headphones to that jack I get stereo in them. Same thing if I connect my headphones to the front computer jack. Are there a Windows 8 setting which configures the sound card to send audio as 5.1 or similar? Update 2. I've bought a new sound card, Asus Zonar D2X. Almost the same thing. Now I only get sound from the left headphone. I've also bought new speakers, Edifier. Same. Sad face. Update 3. If I connect my headphones to a 3.5mm sound card jack I get stereo. Update 4. I've now tried with a regular cable from the computer to the speakers. I've made sure that a 2-speaker system is selected. Still no sound from the left speaker. I've tried 2 different speaker systems and 2 different sound cards, the built-in Realtek card and my new PCIe SS1. I've also had the same problem in Windows 7 and Windows 8. Hence the only thing left is the motherboard, right? But before I accept an answer, how could the motherboard affect the sound in such way? Update 5. Ubuntu and Fedora gives me the same errors when I try to boot them, burned a live CD for both. Something like. So that makes it a bit hard to try the sound using Linux. Update 6. I tried the new speakers with my laptop and got the same result. So I tried my old speakers with the laptop and both works. Seems like one of the speaker cords were loose. I had to wiggle it. I blame my son for that, winky face. The new speakers have red or white connector. And I tried to switch them resulting in the same speaker only getting sound. So the computer seems to send stereo all right. Next test was to switch the speaker cables on from the base unit. Then the sound shifted to the other speaker. So it seems like the hardware in the base or the speaker connector is broke. So all of this just seems like a circumstantial mess. Sad face first that the old left speaker got played around with by my son, resulting in me buying new speakers which didn't work either. And then a new sound card. Guess I'll go and return the new speakers then. Update 7. Heh. I still get problems. Everything have now been switched and I find it hard to believe that my third pair of speakers are broken too.
There is a setting that changes the output format of the audio. It is my suspicion that the left channel of your audio is being routed to your subwoofer. Windows may not be auto-detecting your speaker configuration properly and might be sending a stereo signal to your speakers incorrectly. Try right-clicking the sound device and clicking Configure Speakers instead of double-clicking to get to Properties. A configuration wizard should appear, starting at the Speaker Setup step. It should let you change the output format of the sound. Choose the one corresponding to your setup. For instance, this is what I see when I do it on my laptop. Also, make sure that you are hooking up your cables properly behind your computer. I have a 5.1 audio system hooked up to my computer at home myself. My motherboard supports up to 7.1 surround, and so not all of the audio output ports are hooked up. Make sure the color coding on the speaker cables and your back panel connectors match. In my case, the orange and pink labeled inputs are very similar and, if you aren't careful, can be easily mixed up.
Have you tried disabling the Mobo sound card from BIOS and running strictly off of your SI1? Are you getting full range sound from your subwoofer instead of only low frequencies? Can you hear voice and system sounds, or is it playing correctly? Since you're getting stereo from the 3.5mm jacks, sound is being processed correctly into analog, which is actually 1 degree further than using the SPDIF, which is full digital. Have you tried changing your SPDIF output mode? Does your speaker setup have different options for surround output modes? Dolby, quadraphonic, etc. What model of edifier speakers are you using?
Root cause: the cable for the LHS speaker is broken. It might have broken at either of the ends. Try connecting your speaker to another audio output, iPod, etc. If it does not work, then this diagnosis is right.
It's almost definitely the jack on the back of your computer that the speakers are plugged into, or the motherboard itself, either drivers/hardware/BIOS. I have a 5.1 system that has had similar problems, and I narrowed it down to the motherboard jacks. You can certainly try jiggling them, but your ultimate solution is probably to get a nice sound card. Depending on where/how the volume knob extension is hooked up, it is probably consistent with what I am saying. I.e., if the volume knob comes from the right speaker, which works, the knob's jack would need to be able to receive full stereo through it, and that's why you get full stereo with your headphones. For any playback device, you can go into the sound properties and configure it to be a range of things, but it is often limited by what its detected capability is. Also, given that your Stereo 2.1 setup probably has one main audio plug that goes into the back of the computer, switching how the individual speakers are hooked up changes nothing about how the motherboard is transmitting the audio signal. I.e., still will only send to the same speaker it has its connection with. Wiggling the rear jack and pulling it out a little bit will help troubleshoot this while playing a stereo music file. It could, alternatively, be the connection point on the back of your 2.1 sound system from your computer, where your sound system receives the signal transmitted from the motherboard. It is still likely the S/diff port on your motherboard, or how the motherboard handles the S/diff interface in general, i.e., a sound card using S/diff would still need to go through the motherboard. The audio jack on the front of your PC is interfaced differently, so it is not relevant. The only thing to try in that case is to try it out on a different motherboard. I had a motherboard from Asus where the audio chip crapped out and wouldn't play standard 3.5mm audio correctly. I was effectively getting mono all the time instead of stereo. Also, try your sound card on another motherboard to rule that out. If it is not the actual connection jack on the motherboard, it may have to do with your OS, but that's not as likely as it being the motherboard at this point. It would be good to try a free Linux platform like Ubuntu nevertheless. All audio getting processed goes through the motherboard regardless of where/how it's connected. It is the key juncture, and if you rule out everything else around it, the motherboard itself must be what is wrong. You may have some luck tweaking BIOS settings or updating the motherboard BIOS, but if that doesn't work, I'd just go grab a drop-in motherboard from a different manufacturer that fits your current spec.
I had the same problem, Windows 7 x64, sound on the right speaker only. Here is the solution. I changed speaker properties from 16-bit, 48,000Hz to 24-bit, 48,000Hz. Solved. After searching for a solution for a long time, now I cannot believe it was such an easy one.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.